guys, welcome back to BoreDraw. Today we are talking fantasy football. The game has been released.
It's back, baby.
I've got an expert here right now. What did you get last
Where
season?
is he?
What did you?
Shit, it's me.
It's him.
It was really looking good for like a long. Like, I'm not saying that I didn't do good. I did better than I've ever done. But up until I think like the last 3 weeks, I was top 5k. And then I stunk it up the last 3, 4, 5 weeks and finished, I think, 24,000 something.
It's not bad, is it?
I'll take it.
It's not bad,
I'll
guys.
absolutely take top 25k.
Yeah, we're just here to literally talk you through the early fantasy.
So obviously
game.
all the prices are out now.
Yeah, the price out. The
you
game's
can start
out.
making drafts of your teams.
I'm going to be on that.
So we thought it was a good time to kind of give you our thoughts on. Obviously, there's some top dogs that every team's going to have. There's some players that we think, oh, this could be a cheeky one to get in your team that maybe not everyone has and could be a little bit of a differential. So we'll, talk you through.
Let's start with goalkeepers, yeah. I think, is it Alisson's 5.5? Highest scoring goalkeeper last season. It's really not a big part of your budget, is it?
For me, goalkeepers are always kind of
4.5 or lower.
Yeah, kind of do what you can. Do the rest of the team and then see. You want someone, because the thing is, it's hard with goalkeepers. Do you take a keeper that is a 30 clean sheet but is going to give you no save points? Or do you take a keeper that is a bit iffy on the defo clean sheets but is save points every game? And obviously, me, I used to be a 30 clean sheet kind of guy. I've moved on to a kind of, I like the save points.
If you look at the teams with like the highest finishers last season, they all had very budget keepers who got a lot of points per value. So obviously you're looking at new promoted teams. I know Forest have just got Dean Henderson, or I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but that's going to happen anyway. Dean Henderson also had a great season at Sheffield United when they were in the Premier League, so could be a very good shout. Probably
Shall I tell you who's in my draft for the keeper at the moment?
Who you got?
Nick Pope.
Nick Pope.
Now at Newcastle.
At Newcastle could be a very good shout.
He's obviously price? Like his price 5 mil.
5 mil.
Which I think, so I was like, if it was 4.5, he'd be set and forget already for me. But 5 mil is a little bit sticky, but I thought I'd get him in there for now. I like him as a goalkeeper. He's save points personified. He's like, just always used to get save points, and obviously that's because Burnley just
conceded shots on the shots.
But Newcastle won't be too much different. But I think under Eddie Howe, their defence has got a lot better. Obviously, with the signing of Sven Botman, they've like Trippier's back. Dan Burn's looking good. Well. They signed Target fully now, so their defence is looking good. And I think under Eddie Howe, the Newcastle defence, which back in the day no one would go
last season
wouldn't touch with a barge pole. But I think they could be a little bit of a dark horse. So for me, the goal is Nick Pope.
Yeah, I think other good shouts. You always got David Raya, who was performed really well for Brentford before he got injured. 4.5 million. Another 4.5 is Sanchez from Brighton.
Always a good shout.
Got a call up to the Spain squad. Those two as well have really nice early fixtures. I think leading up to even game week 12, where they got all of the new promoted teams. I think they've got all play them, all three of them. And they avoid any of the top 7 teams for up until game week 7.
His fixture, so they start off a little bit hard. Brentford have got Leicester and United in the first.
The first week, I think. They've got,
like you said, after that it's Fulham, then it's Everton, then it's Palace, and it's Leeds, and it's Southampton.
I think
which on the difficulty rating are all 2s.
If you have both of them, you can have a very nice rotation there. Obviously, you've got 9 million put into 2 goalkeepers, but you do have the options. So when one of them is playing a Man United or something like that, then the other one will have an easier fixture, which is ideal. But it also gives you a question that you have to ask yourself every week, which is the one which you kind of want to eliminate any.
I don't.
You kind of want to have a more set and forget team
100%.
With like minimal, operations per week. But yeah, I think if we look at defenders, we've got Trent and Cancelo. Trent,
well, I was going to say that Trent. So if you've got a fantasy team and you haven't got Trent in it, just immediately call yourself an L.
He's almost like one of the best. He's almost the best point per value player.
Just walking such a tightrope if you've got a team.
You're banking on getting injured and scoring 600 goals.
Trent, because he's so cheap for what he does. He matches Salah, De Bruyne numbers.
He gets goals, assists, contributions, and he also gets clean sheets.
He's 5 mil cheaper than Salah and De Bruyne. So, like, why on earth would you not have him in your team? And yeah, like you said, you get clean sheet bonuses.
I was very surprised that it didn't actually up the value.
He should have been an 8 mil defender.
Obviously, you got Cancelo at 7 million. Brilliant player. Gets a lot of attacking contributions. And
Chelsea fullbacks, you got Reece James and Chilwell at 6 mil.
6 mil, yeah. So obviously, you got those are the higher priced defenders, but you've got players like James Justin back from injury, 4.5. Players like Tomiyasu, who even get a run on the side, can definitely bring some value.
Perisic at Tottenham, 5.5 mil.
The only thing about Perisic is that he is a massive rotation risk. He rarely ever plays more than 60 minutes under Conte, especially. And obviously they've got a lot of players who can play that role out wide.
Yeah, I think the thing for me that I was heard kind of in kind of like the fantasy news sphere. Obviously, new rule in the Prem this season is the 5 sub rule, which for me, thinking about it, kind of makes the bench in the game irrelevant, because if you've got a starting 11 that one of your players in the starting 11 say doesn't play, like a Phil Foden, for example. So you've got Phil Foden in your starting 11, but shit, Pep hasn't got him in his starting 11. So you're thinking, oh yeah, one of my sub players will come in. Because there's a 5 sub rule now,
chances are he's going to play.
Chances are Pep will bring him on. Like, most managers will utilise all 5 subs. So I think back in the day, I used to be a bit more conscious about who I've got on my bench, making sure the first player on my bench is good, and sometimes even the second player on my bench is good. Now, I think as long as you've got one good bench player, and maybe you don't even need one good bench player, as long as you've got 11 players that you know, even if they don't start, they're coming on. I think you're
going to see a lot of 2-pointers coming on this season.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like players who get to 60 minutes and get taken off. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of big money players in the midfield.
Yeah, stop talking about the boring kind of players. Let's talk about the big.
To be fair though, last season the template was sort of 5 at the back.
But let's talk about goal scorers. Let's talk about Mo Salah.
Mo Salah, most expensive player in the game again.
Yep.
Not
13 million. Is he going to be in your team?
I think if you don't have Mo Salah on your team, you're taking a heavy risk.
Especially with the first 2 fixtures of Fulham Palace.
Yeah, I think you're going to want to come out and prove something. We spoke about this in the other podcast. He didn't have a great end to last season. So
he didn't.
Yeah, something to prove as well. Also got Kevin De Bruyne as well. Was he 12.5?
Is he?
I don't know. Can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of numbers to remember.
Yeah, I'll have a look now. But, I thought he was 11.5, but 12.5 probably makes a bit more sense. 12.
Yeah,
right,
so he's 12. So he's actually cheaper than... so he's more expensive than Haaland by 0.5.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the forwards in a minute, but...
While we're on 12 million midfielders, Heung-min Son. Also 12 million. He is now more expensive than Harry Kane.
I mean, he was...
Which is crazy.
Was he second top scorer?
Joint top goal scorer. One goal.
No, I mean...
in fantasy. Just behind Salah, yeah.
So, yeah, obviously Son's a great pick as well, and could be a great differential pick for Mohamed Salah if you wanted to switch them out. I think the trouble a lot of fantasy managers are going to have this season
is getting all the big names in.
Is choosing the right big names.
Yeah.
Because there will be a game where Haaland will score 3 or 4.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And there'll be a game where Salah will score 3 or 4.
Yeah, like Haaland, 11.5 mil. Kane, 11.5 mil. Son, 12 mil. De Bruyne, 12 mil. Salah, 13 mil. You want all 5 of those in and around your team at some point, but that's like 70 mil, so you can't. So you've got, like you said, you've got to be very smart. And a lot of fantasy is just luck, obviously, getting the right player at the right time. But there is more decisions now than ever in terms of big dons and getting them right.
There's sort of almost 2 ways to play the game. You can always play it by picking players based on their fixtures and not on form, or you can play it based on their form and not on fixtures. And I think it comes down very much, the best managers can decide when to play which style,
100%.
Depending on what players are performing. Obviously, if City have a run of like 2 new promoted sides and 2 struggling sides in 4 games, you're going to go for triple City. You're going to go for that Haaland. You probably go for a cheaper City midfielder, maybe a Silva, not Bernardo Silva, but like
Phil Foden.
Phil Foden, yeah. Depending who they've got around it still. And yeah, Cancelo obviously would be a mainstay, but yeah, obviously you're limited to 3 players per team.
Moving on from the big dons, a couple of underrated prices and kind of players that you might want to slide in your team.
Might tickle your fancy, yeah.
obviously slightly biased. Gabriel Jesus, 8 million.
8 million for... So I think
A forward
obviously...
that's going to start for a top 6 team.
It's all speculation before the season starts as to who's going to be the starting player, where they're going to be playing, how much of a preseason they had, whatever. But Gabriel Jesus at 8 million, especially if you can find some goal scoring for him and become more of a focal point than he was at Man City.
Yeah.
For Arsenal.
For me, Arsenal last season, they created so many chances but didn't have anyone to finish it. If Gabriel Jesus can get in there, obviously, like you said, he's competing with Nketiah, who's also very good at finishing the chances. So that might be a bit of a sticker. You may want to see, have no Arsenal forwards for the first few games, see what Arteta is feeling in terms of Gabriel Jesus or Nketiah, and then pick one. But I think Gabriel Jesus for 8 million, if he starts getting in the goals, could be a bit of a steal.
And he gets involved in the assists as well. His goal contributions are amazing.
8 million for Gabriel Jesus.
Arsenal have a lot of very well-priced players. I mean, Odegaard as well, Martinelli.
Martinelli, 6 million.
Yeah, I think the only issue is, obviously, their midfield is very flooded with attacking midfielders. You've got Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, you've got Smith Rowe, so they're not all going to play.
Like a Pep roulette,
but like you say, the 5 subs will bring into that, so you will get more opportunity to play. I've got one up front who is interested for me is Undav for Brighton.
Yeah.
5.5. So obviously if you've got Kane or Haaland up front, you want a cheaper striking partnership. So Undav most likely will start. They need that goal scorer to come in because they create a lot of chances without getting
exactly like Arsenal. They just create too many chances but never had someone to bang them in. And Brighton, like we were saying a couple of episodes ago, Undav, if he's the guy that he says he is, if he gets 25 goals this season,
I was looking at some of his stats
right in the fantasy team.
The guy scores goals really, he does. So hopefully he can bring that across for Brighton.
Could be a bit of a motive.
One who's always interesting when he comes back up to the Premier League is big Aleksandar Mitrovic. Obviously, smashed the Championship goal scoring record.
He's always in my fantasy team.
6.5 million, I believe.
Yeah,
so he's 0.5 cheaper than Ivan Toney, who was the previous goal scoring record. Who he did all right on fantasy last year. He was 2.0 Toney for a long time, but he would occasionally get a haul, and he was cheap. I think he was 6 million or something like that. So Mitrovic will be either a trap for a lot of people because
100%.
But I think he's 100% a trap. But I think you'll see him in a lot of drafts as well because people will look at someone who scored 40 plus goals for 6.5 million is a no-brainer, but I think Fulham can't play the way that they played in the Championship in the Premier League. Exactly. They won't get away with it. But yeah, that's always an interesting one, as trap to fall into. Anyone else you're looking at? Anyone?
Darwin Núñez, how do you feel about him? 9 million. Do you reckon he starts from the beginning of the season?
The problem is, I think he is... will he be in the team straight away? What kind of a role is he going to play?
How much they pay for him? 70 million?
He has to be.
If he doesn't start immediately.
But it really does come down to how he performs in pre-season and how he gels with the team. Obviously, Liverpool play a very, very specialised style of football, very high press and a very fluid front three. But they're putting out to adapt their style to facilitate Núñez because that's not really the way he played at Benfica. I think 9 million is quite a lot. I don't think it is a lot for him if he starts every game. But it is a risk.
Yeah, when you've got someone like Luis Diaz, who for a couple million less, 1 million less, 8 mil.
I had 8.
He could probably deliver the same amount of goals as.
And at the moment, the rules haven't really changed. There's a lot of rules that change regarding wild cards because of the Qatar World Cup. So you're actually going to effectively get 3 wild cards this season. Nice. But the point scoring system looks to remain the same. So Luis Diaz, as a player who's going to be involved in goals and assists at 0.5 million cheaper, probably looks like a better option because they do get more points from that midfield. He was in my initial draft as well. One
player that's in my draft that watch his space, get him in your team if you want him, Pedro Neto.
I
think he obviously was out injured all of last season, but the season before was an absolute machine. Scored so many goals, and I think Wolves, if they get him back fit, he'll be a bit of a menace. And for 5.5 million, and Wolves' first few fixtures are Leeds and Fulham, that's nice.
A few defenders that I've had my eye on, obviously James Justin, I think, if he gets back, obviously a horrendous injury last season, but 4.5 million. I think could be their starting fullback if they do. He is fit. 8 Nuri from Wolves, goal and 4 assists in 18 starts. 4.2 points per game. 4.5 a really good enabler in defence. Who else? Pontus Jansson as well. If you don't have Raya in goal, perhaps you want to get a Brentford player in there.
And he's got a good aerial threat, doesn't he?
Good aerial threat, gets involved from corners. Another one, Mark Gay. Yeah, another fantastic player if Palace can continue to carry on this upward trend.
A couple of things as well that I quite like the idea of is players that are stupidly cheap but are on the way out of the club that they're at. So like Nico Williams, stupidly cheap. Pereira, Harry Winks, they're all like 4.5 mil at a big club that are linked with a just promoted team. And they're going to start every week. They're good enablers.
Yeah, I think obviously the ideal fantasy setup is to have a team that's perfectly balanced between enablers and your high scoring players, and it's picking the right enablers that will get you those those assists and those goals that pop up with and actually become a pivotal part of their team.
Yeah.
And that is literally the formula to having a successful fantasy season. But yeah, we're literally going to be doing this pretty much every week now.
Yeah, we'll talk about fantasy a bit more as we get closer.
Yeah, we'll be releasing our early drafts and putting up good picks if we see them, especially with transfer market moving the way it is. There's a lot of players moving into these new promoted teams, into the mid-table teams in the Premier League. So very interesting.
We're going to do a little BoreDraw league as well. So get excited for that.
Yeah, we'll be releasing the details of that soon. There will be a mystery prize for the winner.
And that'll be me. No, I'm joking.
If it goes to Roz,
no, I'll give it to one of you guys. No, I'm joking.
Everything will be closed down.
But
yeah, keep your eye out and send us your drafts, your early drafts.
Let us know if you've got any players that we haven't mentioned that you think, oh yeah, they haven't mentioned this guy. He could be a bit of a menace.
We can literally talk for hours.
Yeah,
about
I always
fantasy.
love a bit of fantasy goss, mate.
We can literally sit here and talk for hours about what the players we could pick, who you should pick, and that's literally the beauty of the game. So yeah, get involved with us. Let us know who you're picking, who your maybe your surprise player for the season could be, and send us your rate my teams. We'll have a look at them for you.
Love to see it. Follow us on the socials.
All the socials. Cheers, guys.
Bye.